Twitter.
Every
The only place we're still waiting for is Instagram.
IGZ with the fleazy and the
Yes.
tweezies. Peakeasy. Okay, no, that does
C.Chat.
not sound okay.
Um, Live on YouTube and Twitter. Link in bio. Hello? You speaking to a son? Good, thanks, and yourself? Sorry, just say it again. Sorry, man. The connection's not great. I can't hear what you're saying. Hello? Barely. The connection's not great. Oh, ah, ah.
I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
to see the tripod.
Someone trying to sell me a car tracking device and I don't have a car.
Duh. Wow.
Man. Alright. Okay,
Crazy.
we here. We here. What's the intro, Pearl?
What's the intro? Firstly,
What's
shout out to Artistry for
yeah.
amazing event. I
Let's
got to
go.
see Josh DJing. Like I got to see him in person,
Who would have
and
thought?
it was worth the wait. Who would have thought? It was worth the wait. That's what I'm going to say.
Damn.
Worth the wait.
Nah, gassing me up over
For
here.
sure.
Why is this thing?
So yeah, shout out to Artistry.
Yo, nah, let me restart this live. This thing is doing some funny things here.
On IG.
Yeah, it's because of that call.
Sabotage.
Yeah,
Oh,
ish. Because now, why? What's the time? It's 6 o'clock. Ah,
it's
guys,
yeah,
you
it's
could be calling people trying to sell them stuff at 6 o'clock at night.
telemarketers.
Imagine, why are you working at 6 o'clock? Are they paying this person overtime? That's what I want to know.
This is where my voicemail or voice machine voice comes in. That's how I get rid of telemarketers. I'll say this is the Microsoft fraud line. Please note that your location is being tracked. Calls are being recorded. You're
Not
gonna hear
everyone
doo,
has
doo,
the.
doo.
Wait. You need to give us. You need to give us the voice, the
Oh
voicemail
my god.
voice. Let's go.
Age.
Hey
But for
everybody.
emphasis, I have to hold my phone just for to create that atmosphere and that voice to come out.
Hello, boo. I'm doing great, thanks. How you doing? You guys came right on time. Pearl is about to give us the male voice.
Oh my
If you
god.
want to hear it properly, you got to join on the YouTube and Twitter. So if you want to hear it, you got to hop on there. All right. Before we jump into that, Pearl, because we're gonna do that, but we need to give everyone on IG a moment to switch over.
Okay.
Before we do that, what is the intro? C.Chat's intro.
Hey. Um. Well, do we have an intro? We always get straight to the point. There's no intro.
Welcome to C.Chats, where we talk to the community, we find out what's happening in the world, and talk about it. So here we are today. We got Pearl and Josh on the live, and Pearl is gonna do her voiceover voice for us. Are you ready? Shout out
I wish I
Raymond.
had.
Welcome to the live.
I should have drank hot water before doing this. It's not gonna come out properly.
Yo, you need some tea, honey, ginger.
Exactly. You get me. You see? Yeah, you're the only one that gets me, that understands.
If you want to join on YouTube, the link is in my bio. You'll see that there's a link there. You'll be able to join the YouTube channel from there. The weather in the UK is beautiful today. Nice. I'm actually jealous. It's
Mm,
freezing outside. Well, it's not freezing. It's not that cold,
mm,
but it is chilly, especially now. Now it's chilly.
mm.
But yeah, no, I know good weather is more valued in the UK than it is here in South Africa
We take it
because
for
we're
granted.
lucky. Yeah, no, we're lucky. Okie dokie. What are we doing today?
Okay, so what we will be, the glasses. What we will be doing today is we're going to be, breaking down entrepreneurship. We did talk about entrepreneurship in our previous live, but today we're going to be, going deeper into it. Um, Shout out to the community for voting because the entrepreneurship and startups was the most voted topic. So I think we need to break it down a little bit more. So, yep,
Okay,
that's what we're going to be talking about today.
I'm excited. I feel like
You're,
we've spoken to so many entrepreneurs on the podcast that they've
yeah.
dropped so much knowledge. So I think this live stream is really good because we can take the best parts of all of those things that they've shared on the podcast and kind of share that and hopefully offer some sort of value to you guys watching. Um, so
Mm.
yeah, if there is, I see Tuli's asking if there's a lag. There probably is a lag, but pick a struggle. Why are you watching on Instagram and YouTube, guys?
Oh my God.
Topic to tackle. Uh
I
oh.
have a cute smile. Don't mind me.
Oh, I thought it was lagging. Meanwhile, you just keep. Thank you, tools.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay, what were we saying, Pearl?
All right. Speaking of entrepreneurship, um, on our thumbnail, we mentioned something about creativity and how it is key for entrepreneurs. For someone like me, before I got into the digital marketing space, I always thought that creativity only applies to art. That's the idea that I had, that creativity and art, then done. But ever since I've been in the space, I've realized that creativity is not just in art, but it applies to almost, if not everything, that we do in our lives. But today we're going to be focusing more on how it applies to entrepreneurship. So, one of the things that creativity
Sorry, Pearl.
helps with,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I ask you a question?
sure,
Like before I lose it, what
all right,
shifted your thinking about creativity that it's not
what
just
shifted
art?
my what shifted my thinking? Well, there are some situations whereby you have to think of something, and it's not just a cliche thing that you can just think of, or a basic thing. You just need to think about it to say, I can do something like this and maybe do it like that. Okay, let me not do it like this. Let me do it this way. That on its own, it starts with curiosity. Curiosity often leads to creativity. Like once you have that curiosity,
Mm,
you say, okay, this is what is happening right now. How can I implement or do this? And then you start thinking of ideas. Thinking of those ideas, that's where the creativity
mm,
comes in now, because now you have a lot of options. And if you choose one, you're able to maybe customize that idea, if I can put it that way. That is creativity for me. And it happened in most situations. Even before I got into the digital space, I don't really realize that it was creativity at that moment. I thought that because I'm an artist or because I like to write, that's where creativity comes in. But there are certain situations in my life where I had to use creativity. So, yeah, that is.
mm. I feel like creativity is navigating your circumstances
Yeah, for sure.
because in life we all have limitations. There's always going to be
Mm,
limitations. No matter how
exactly.
rich you are, how much resources you have, there's always limitations. So creativity is a way of thinking to overcome those limitations to achieve whatever outcome you're trying to achieve. And then figuring out that pathway, I think, is
Mm,
creativity, which is why I don't think it applies to like you said, a lot of people think creativity is drawing a cat or
mm,
creating a song, but it's not about necessarily the creativity. It's more about what does that piece of art or whatever it is that you're creating, what does that thing achieve? What does it do? And that's like, what impact does it have? And I think that's like the why behind it. Because if you look at
mm,
like all these artists, the art is not valuable because of what it is. The art is valuable, or maybe it is. It's always tricky talking about art because it's such a subjective thing. But
yeah.
when you have a piece of artwork, I think what makes it valuable is what it's able to do in the world that it exists. So
Mm,
creativity is really about creating something that has some sort of impact in the world. And if you create something that has impact, it will have value. And if it has value, people will be willing to pay for it, which
mm.
I think is the important thing to come, like, kind of bring it back to the entrepreneurial discussion. But yeah, sorry, little tangents that went off there.
Well, actually, you explained it better than me because, like I said, I'm a storyteller. I like to start from the beginning all the way to the middle before reaching the final chapter. I go back there.
Hmm.
So yeah, you explained it briefly and clear,
I'm glad. I'm glad I could expand on your point.
for
What's
sure.
up, Jade? We've got Jade and Junior, and then we've also got someone on YouTube. I don't know who you are on YouTube, but hi. Let us know in the chat. Cool. All right.
Awesome.
Back to the chat.
Awesome. So I have a question for you. So there are two things. There's more, but I want to start with these two. So most entrepreneurs say that creativity helps with idea generation and problem solving. So, for you as an entrepreneur,
Mm.
how did that apply to you as well? Has creativity in any way helped you with idea generation and problem solving?
I think you need ideas to solve problems. And I think the ideas are important because if you have a problem that exists, it means that no one has been able to solve it yet. So that means that
Mm.
what other people have tried in the past hasn't necessarily solved the problem. So you kind of have to use that concept of thinking outside of the box, trying something that hasn't been tried before. And that's often very scary. And I think that's where entrepreneurship ties into this concept of creativity, because creativity and entrepreneurship, the common thread between it is that it's scary. It's much easier to it's certain, but trying something that you don't know is going to work or that's new that someone else hasn't tried, breaking away from the pack is a scary thing to do. It's not easy to do that. And most of the successful creatives out there and successful entrepreneurs out there are the ones that are willing to break away from the pack. And I think part of the reason why it's so difficult to do that is because as human beings, it's in our genetics and our instincts to stay close to other human beings and to do what other human beings do. So that's why we have like cultures. Culture is literally that. Culture is doing what other human beings are doing to have some sort of sense of relationship or feeling like you fit in to something bigger. And that's the reason why we do that, is because that's how we survive as human beings. We're pack creatures. We're able to survive because we look after one another. If you look at like our society, there's different people that are good at different things, and we all work together to survive and to thrive. So without the pack, we become vulnerable. If you go alone and you separate yourself from your community, if you go into like the bush by yourself, you're going to be more vulnerable than what you'd be in a city. So in order for us to survive, our instincts say we should be surrounded by other human beings. We should be doing what other human beings are doing. We should fit in to the status quo of this society that we've created. And creativity is the opposite of that. And it's so ironic. Like when you think about life often exists in two opposite spheres. So, for example, you have good, but you have bad. If you didn't have the bad, you wouldn't be able to understand what the good is. And if you didn't have the good, the bad would be meaningless. So
Yeah.
there's constant duality happening in the society that we live in. And the same concept applies in this broader discussion of us wanting to fit in versus taking a risk and standing out and doing something that falls outside of the box per se. So we need to have people that are willing to fit in to the status quo of society, that are willing to go and work a job that's comfortable, that they know exactly what they need to do. They need to take this thing over here and move it over there. They need to take this thing over here and move it over there. And that's what they do every day. And that's okay. Like our society wouldn't function without those people. But on the flip side, we also need people that think, well, what if we don't move the box over here to over there? What if we move it from over here to down there? Maybe that could be a better way to do it. And you need those people that are willing to step outside of that current way of thinking to be able to progress things, because in order to progress you have to change, and in order to change you have to be curious, you have to be willing to take a risk, you have to be willing to try something different to separate from the pack. So I think as human beings we all play a role in that greater scheme of things. And I think in South Africa specifically, right now, what's really needed is people who are willing to separate from the pack, because we are struggling with unemployment. That's one of the biggest challenges that we have as young people in South Africa. And in order for us to solve that, we need to take risks and we need to find ways to create jobs, because the current way of doing things is not creating jobs. So we need to do something different. And that requires people that have courage. That requires people that are willing to take that risk, who are also very hardworking and are curious. Like, what if instead of moving the box from here to there and we move it from here to down there? What difference would that make? How would it fit into the bigger picture? That curiosity is what I think drives a lot of creatives and entrepreneurs to try, because they want to figure it out. They want to know why. So I think that's an important thing that we need right now, is we need those people who have that curiosity in order to solve the problems that we have, because we need to try something different. And that's why it's important that we have this discussion today, because you listening might have an idea, or you might be looking for some sort of inspiration, or you might have, I don't know, you might be struggling with a problem that you need some help solving. Whatever it is, we wanted today to be a space that we could create to help you navigate that, in order to be a part of that broader solution to solve the challenges that we have. So yeah, went down a bit of a rabbit hole, but I hope that
Go
kind of
deep.
unpacks that idea of like curiosity a bit and solving
Go deep.
problems.
Preach.
Church. Yes, loud.
We in church. Yeah, okay, you did go down the
Pearl,
rabbit hole, but it was
Pearl,
worth it.
Pearl, Pearl. I feel like we got the name of like either an event or our live streams.
Okay, I'm listening.
Church.
Church.
What do you guys think? Do you think we should call these live streams church from now on?
Yo, yo. Okay,
That
that's
that might be a bit controversial.
church.
I like that name. Hey yo,
Church.
we got tools on YouTube and Instagram. My
Oh
guy
wow,
said
shut
I'm
up.
watching on both. Creativity is an
Wow.
interesting phenomenon because it goes against the very nature of survival, but also evolution and creativity go in hand. Yep. It's an
Yep.
ironic situation to be in, but the that is literally how it works. Life is ironic like that. Thanks for the
For
comment.
sure. Church. Yo. Ch- ch-
We'll let it
ch- ch-
simmer. We'll let it simmer.
Yeah. Hey, but church. Yo. Yo.
It's Pearl saying no to church. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been outvoted.
No. No. I'm. You know how they say raise your hand if you object or something like that if you don't agree. I'm using my feet as well.
Wow.
No. No. No to church.
Okay, we won't call it church. We'll leave it for now. We'll leave it for now. We'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah, we will. All right. Back to um our topic for today. So there's also adaptability, like how creativity is key for entrepreneurs. Adaptability. So remember how things were back in 2020 where, we had lockdown, people couldn't go out, and that meant that businesses had to close down, maybe temporarily, some even closed permanently. But some people actually thought to themselves that maybe they can actually start their businesses online, maybe start selling online if they're selling something. And it actually became a thing now. People are now working remotely. So would you say that that was creative thinking?
Mm. Oh yeah, for sure. Like there were people that were doing that stuff before lockdown, but I think
Mm-hmm.
people only understood it when lockdown came. And that goes back to that conversation about limitations. You have
Yeah.
to have limitations in order to progress. So using the technology, going online was before lockdown, it was a better way to do it. And the way that I know that that's the case is because people that were using online tools during lockdown kept using them after lockdown. If using online tools wasn't beneficial, they would have dropped it after lockdown ended and gone back to the way that they were doing things before. But because they kept on using it, shows that that way of doing things is more beneficial. So the people that were doing it before, there were a lot of people that were operating online before lockdown happened, but they were really struggling. And
Mm.
the reason why is because other people didn't get it yet. We needed that limitation in terms of being locked down to understand the value of it. We were forced to try something different. We had no other choice. And because we were forced, it created a need for us to step forward and take that step forward in terms of using more and more of the online world in our day-to-day interactions. So that limitation is it applies in the context of lockdown and COVID. But I just want to like share a quick story. So like our business before lockdown, I remember my co-founder at the time and I would go to pitch to different potential clients and we would pitch, pitch, and no one would work with us. No one would understand why they needed a website. No one would understand why they needed content to be created for them. And no one wanted to pay money for that. But then after COVID, I remember we were chilling like right before COVID hit and we went in lockdown. We managed to land one of our biggest clients who was able to be forward thinking enough to invest in us. And then lockdown happened, and then because a lot of the work that we were doing was online already, we that further solidified the relationship because we were like, okay, cool, we can still actually do this work. We don't need to be working in person, we can still do it online. So we started working more and more with them, and from that we were able to grow the business. And then after we came outside of lockdown, pitching to people became so much easier because people then understood the importance and the need for what we do. They knew that they needed a website, they knew that they needed content. And that's when because of COVID, the herd changed direction, and now everyone wanted to be a part of the herd again. So if you're at the forefront of these things, when the herd changes, like before the herd shifts direction, you're going to look like a weirdo standing outside of the herd going on their own path. And most people are going to look at you from the herd and think, what the hell is this person doing? Why are they over there? We're going this way, they're going that way. What are they doing? It's the future and people are going to adopt it. Eventually, the herd will turn in that direction and you're going to be ahead of everyone else. People are going to look at you for direction. People are going to want to be close to you and want to learn from you because they've seen that you've been doing this for so long and you've you are able to predict and preempt where everyone else is going to go. And you are able to predict and preempt where everyone else is going to go. And there's power in that because there's a need for people to understand that direction and how to get where they want to go. So you're able to fulfill that need, and people pay you for that. People will pay for that. So if you're able, like a lot of people will avoid separating themselves from the herd because they don't want to be looked weird at, or they don't want to feel like they're alone.
Mm.
And but unfortunately, if you want to be one of those people that is going to benefit from grow a business and make these ideas, you have to be willing to separate yourself from the herd and stand by yourself and stand in what you believe in and what you believe to be true. And that's a difficult thing to do. So yeah, I'm hoping that we can someone that feels like they're in that position can feel like they're not alone, because yeah, like you're not crazy. You're not crazy if you're standing by yourself. It just means that people might potentially just be one step behind you, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing. It means that you're on the right track.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think I found myself in that situation once back in
Mm.
primary school when I was still learning poetry by myself. When everyone else was doing their thing, I was there with a book that had poems and I would read them learning. And I started feeling like I was doing too much because no one was actually doing that. But I think my teacher showed me appreciation on how I was eager to learn something that we were not doing at that time actually made me say, okay, maybe this was a good idea. Maybe, I'm one step ahead than them because they are not really focusing on that because we're not doing it. But I decided that let me use my time and do this. So I think yeah, it's kind of a similar situation that I found myself in. Like I really felt like I was being a goody two shoes and everyone else is just playing there and I'm just here with a book. It felt weird. And sometimes I would think that maybe they're looking at me and criticizing me. Maybe trying to make myself or trying to look like a goody two shoes, like I mentioned. So yeah, I found myself in that situation. Even though it's not entrepreneurship, yeah, it's not related to entrepreneurship, but from a personal experience, that's something that I've experienced that's similar.
Yeah. Yeah, Tools left a comment here. He's saying that the road less traveled is often more scenic.
Hmm.
One of my favorite quotes is that our deepest I love that quote because by virtue of thinking differently, you're separating yourself from everyone else. You're not, people are going to look at you, you're going to draw attention. And that attention can
Mm,
be pressurizing.
exactly.
Expectation kind of put on your shoulders. And that expectation can feel like a lot, can feel like a weight, can feel like pressure. And that's not an easy thing to bear on your shoulders. But if you're able to overcome that, if you're able to step into your reality, if you're able to be who that you are, you will realize that reality at some point. As long as you stay consistent at it, you keep working at it, you will be able to realize that reality. And the funny part is when you do realize that reality, the but the first steps before that are actually so difficult because there's that pressure that you put on yourself. And it has a lot to do with
Yeah.
identity as well, like how you view yourself. A lot of the time how we view ourselves is based off of how other people perceive us to be. But the funny part is that a lot of the time how someone else views you is more a reflection of who they are than who you are. How you view yourself,
Mm,
because that definition that they're putting on us, a lot of the time it's just a reflection of who they are. So really it's up to us to define ourselves and to step into that version of who we are. And if you can do that, people are drawn to that because we all desire that. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond belief. So
hmm.
so yeah, like that belief will draw people to you, but it's difficult to walk down that path.
Yeah, that is so true. Yo, that was deep, deeper than the beef between Kendrick and Drake.
I don't know if it was
But
that deep. Eh?
for me, it was.
Yo, man said A minor.
Yeah.
People were saying PDF file.
PDF.
Wow. Wow.
Yo, now he's getting jabs from even the weatherman. Yeah, the
The
weatherman is
weatherman.
there. The weatherman is there. They not like us. They not like us, and they not like us right here. And then he was talking about rain, and he said, and it's probably a minor.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
thoughts
that
and
video
prayers to
was,
the
it was
victims.
viral. It was trending everywhere. Anyway, that's another discussion. That is another. So we've been talking about remote work, and since it has become um a I don't know if I should say normal thing or something that is being practiced now. There are people that work hybrid. They work on site or remotely. Well, both rather.
Mm.
So with us, what would you say are the benefits of us working remotely?
Yo, I think the benefits of working remotely are quite obvious. Um, you have more freedom, you have less people on the roads. It's good for small businesses because you don't need to pay a lot of money to have an office space,
Mm.
which lowers the barrier to entry when it comes to small businesses, which is great. I think that's great. Um, but I think we all know that, like, we've been speaking about this for the longest time. I think the next step in the conversation is like, what drawbacks does it have? Because
Yeah.
it's interesting, like, you have people like Elon Musk who goes into Twitter, for example, or X, and now says no one here is going to work remote. Everyone needs to come into the office. That's not how we do things. And that begs the question, like, why? If you have all these benefits of working remote, why should we be coming into the office? And I think there are benefits like coming into the office. I think when it comes to the transfer of information and, sharing knowledge, I think being in person is a lot easier to do that because you don't log in and log off. You're kind of
Mm.
forced to be around people all the time. And you have little conversations here and there. You're able to show someone this or someone that. There's a lot less of a barrier when it comes to transferring knowledge. So I think that's a really good thing. I also think it's important that we are able to like converse in person every now and again because
Mm.
there's something about people's energy when you're around them in person. Like there's certain things you can't pick up or I don't know, like, those little facial expressions, those things make a difference. We don't think they do because they're not
Yeah.
obvious to us. But when you add all of them together, just someone's like body language, like there's so much more happening below the screens. Like you see some of my hands moving up and down. I'm doing like there's certain things that I'm communicating with my hands while I'm doing this, but you can't see it because it's cut off. Like things like
Mm.
that. They seem small, but I think when you add them up, I think they all make a difference. So I think being in person, I think hybrid is probably the best approach because
Mm.
then you can create it in a way where you get the best of both in a way.
Oh, wow. Okay, is there anyone in the comments who objects, who agrees? Hybrid or
Choice.
on-site, remote? Which one do you prefer?
What would your choice be?
My choice would definitely be hybrid
You're saying
because human
hybrid.
interaction is important.
Hmm.
Like you say,
Yeah,
you
I
when
agree.
you right here, you can't pick up that I'm hungry right now.
You can't
I'm
hear the
kidding.
stomach growl over Google Meets.
You can't hear the stomach growl. Hmm? If I feel cold, you can't pick up that I'm feeling cold. You'd think, ah, Pearl is
Yeah.
fine. She's not feeling cold. But in person, you are able to pick up, even like you mentioned, energy. You're able to pick up someone's energy. If someone doesn't want to be around you, you're able to pick that up. If someone doesn't like you, you're able to pick that up. And you know where to draw the line. Okay, this is not the type of person that I want to associate myself with. So yeah, I think human interaction is important because if you remote over and over without meeting the people, then it feels like quarantine.
Mm. I don't know, like, even if you think about WhatsApp, right? Sometimes I've had conversations with people over WhatsApp where I think that they're like upset with me because they're saying things which I'm interpreting as them being annoyed, but you
Yeah,
can't hear their tone of voice. You're just reading it
exactly.
as a text. So, like, one thing that I never do is if I'm in a relationship, I will never have an intense conversation about something that's emotional over WhatsApp because you can't tell what the tone of voice is. Like, you
Mm,
can't, and that's huge. Like, that's so important when it comes to communication. Tone of
yeah,
voice, if you're going to say something sarcastic, you need to hear that sarcastic tone in the voice. If you send that same message over WhatsApp, someone will think that you're being serious. And it's like, no,
exactly.
no, no, I'm just joking. But you can't tell. So I think that's a good example of like the online versus real world. But I think that's going to change over time. Hey, if you look at
Mm,
like Apple Vision Pro and how people are using headsets now to go into Zoom meetings and they like tracking our faces and that kind of stuff, as technology develops and as they're able to track those things more and more, I think they're going to be able, or we're going to be able to replicate reality more and more in the online world. And we'll be able to bridge those gaps, which will be very interesting because people talk about the concept of time travel and they think that,
mm.
sorry, not time travel, teleportation. People talk about
Oh,
this concept of teleportation, and often we think about it in the sense of physically teleporting to a different place in the world. But like technically, teleportation could be possible through the online world, right?
mm-hmm.
If you're able to create some sort of technology where, I mean, we've done it now with virtual reality. If you're wearing virtual reality, if you're just able to 3D create any space, you can go there with your eyes. What's still tricky is like the haptic feedback, so like feeling, because we've nailed the sight, we've nailed the sound. You can also replicate the sound if you just have earphones or headphones. But the next step is now smell and touch and taste. If we can replicate those things through technology, essentially we'd be able to teleport anywhere in the world.
Mm.
You just create a digital representation of where you want to be, and then you just go in it.
Well, you
Tools are
actually,
saying it depends on the profession when it comes to hybrid versus uh, what's it, remote.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I think that's a cool like thing to look forward to in the future.
You're reminding me of that clip of I don't know if it was in Disney Studios or it was at Disneyland where that person was walking on that mat that looked like a what is this again? I haven't been to the gym in years,
It's
so
like
I
a
forgot.
360 treadmill.
Yeah,
It's a
it's like
360 treadmill. So instead of walking in one
exactly.
direction, you can walk in any direction but still stay in almost one spot.
Mm, mm. Yeah, so when I saw that, hey, I was like, you guys are up to something. And we actually had a
Yeah.
conversation of if it was possible to stay in the virtual world and just leave the real world behind, would you do it? And I said no. I would stay in the
Mm.
real world.
Yeah. What
Because
if
like I
you decide to like move to a different country and you're not able to come back home to like visit your family? If you were able to like put on a headset, stand on one of those 360 treadmill machines, wear these like a suit that makes you feel things, would you be willing to like wear one of those suits, go on one of those treadmills, wear the headsets, the earphones, and then be able to hug your mom, for example, or feel like you're hugging your mom using that kind of technology? Would you use that or not?
I would use it, but only for that time. I wouldn't want to be stuck in that virtual reality because if that's the case, there's a reason why I'm stuck. So there's
Well,
definitely
that's
a
the
reason why
important
I'm
part.
stuck.
I think that's the important part is the ability to choose what you want
Mm,
and not be forced.
exactly.
So like I think with social media, that one of the problems that I have with social media, and this is something that my good friend director Ali was posting on his story earlier today, but he was saying that like a lot of the times he puts a lot of videos and then he puts it online and no one engages with it, even though objectively speaking it's a high quality piece of content that he spent hours creating. Because it's not in alignment with the algorithm, no one interacts with it or engages with it. But then you get other people out there that will shoot something in 2 minutes, edit it in 5 minutes, throw it up on the internet, and hundreds of thousands of people engage with it because it's in alignment with the algorithm and what the algorithm wants to show people. And he was like saying like, are we creating for ourselves or are we creating for the algorithm? And if we're
Mm,
creating for the algorithm, do we really have a say in what it is that we're doing? Are we actually deciding our actions or is the algorithm deciding for us? And I
sure.
think that's an interesting concept to explore because I personally, like, I've thought about this a lot. And I think number one, people need to be aware of the fact that they are actually in control. So,
Mm,
like, depending on how we choose to engage with social media, we have a say in terms of what these social media platforms prioritize. So, if we're going to go on social media every day and we're just going to scroll, 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 and just mindlessly consume content that doesn't really mean anything to us, they're going to create an algorithm that is optimized to show that content to more people because that's what we're choosing to consume. And then if they create that algorithm that's going to show that content to more people, it incentivizes people that might be really good at creating good quality content to now start creating this mindless content that actually doesn't have much value because we choose to consume it. So
mm,
if we make a decision to not consume that content, if we all woke up tomorrow morning and decided, the only content that we're going to consume is going to be maths content. Let's say we just all decided to do that tomorrow. Give it like a month. The algorithm will start only showing math content because we're not engaging with anything else. So, and then if that's the case, then a lot of creators that create content will start creating more math content because they're incentivized to do so, because they know it's going to reach more people. So we have like it's a circle, right? Because it starts with the content creator, then it goes to the consumer, and then no, how does it go? It starts with the content creator, which goes to the consumer, which goes to the algorithm, which goes to the content creator. So it goes in this circle. We, as a consumer, we play a role, and as a creator, we play a role. So
mm,
we need to the one where we don't play a role is the algorithm. And that's what I think we need to be able to control. I think we should be able to control what the algorithm is showing us, because we can,
mm,
as a consumer, you can only control yourself. So you only have 1/3 control in that circle. As a consumer and a creator, you have two levels of control, but you'll never be able to control the algorithm. The only way you can control the algorithm is through your actions as a consumer. I think we should be able to control the algorithm. I think we should be able to go into our social media settings and decide, I want to see this content. I don't want to see that content. I want to see this content. I don't want to see that content. Because why am I opening up Instagram to see bums all over my page? Instagram sees that I'm a male, and then it starts putting bums on my page. Like, I deserve to have a choice in that. Like, and I know there's many guys out there that also feel the same way.
Yo, and yeah, that's, I think, even with, those ads that pop up out of the blue, and like,
Yeah,
this person is single and they're in your area, text them now. Some people don't receive
yeah,
those, and it's not because maybe their phones, then maybe they have ad blockers or something. Even if you have an ad blocker, you would still get them. But they would get, you want to become a millionaire, click below. But I'm single and
yeah.
I'm in your area. I don't know. I don't know why and how they pick people to send those fake ads to. I don't know. That is weird.
Yeah, it's
That is so
dangerous.
weird. It is.
It's a dangerous thing because whoever's controlling the algorithm has so much power. They have so much control.
Mhm.
Because if you just show, like, how many hours a day are we spending time on our phones? Um,
Yo.
that's right. Keep exposing yourselves. Wow, tools. I know you complain to me personally about the same problem, so don't come here with that nonsense. Wow. Anyways, so when it comes to these things, right? How many hours do we spend on our phones? And if you only see content that talks about how the sky is turning greener and greener every day, like you might start believing that. Or if you only see content about that showing this
Exactly.
certain way of thinking, and that's all you see every day, you might start believing that because you're not exposed to anything else that falls outside of that. So a lot of people they get stuck in these like algorithm echo chambers that just keep showing the same content, and then they start believing that everyone thinks that way. So like I think a good example of that in the South African context is with the elections, right? So I'm on Twitter. Majority of people on Twitter support a specific red party. Okay, I'm not going to put names. It's a party that's red. Okay, now we go and we vote. And on Twitter, people were saying things like, nah, this red party is going to win. Like, this person's going to be president, blah, blah, blah. So, what do? We go and we vote, and then that party doesn't do well. Now, all of these people on Twitter are saying that the election is rigged. They're saying that people, like, they don't understand how the outcome of the election was this, that. And the reason why it's the case is because there's a distorted view of what reality is. Because you're operating on a platform where most people think the same way that you do, most people support the same party that you support, you're going to start thinking that that party is going to win. And if that party doesn't win, you're going to start questioning things more because the reality that you've experienced, which has been online, has showed you that majority of people support that party. So how is it possible that they didn't win? But a lot of people don't realize that there's a whole world outside of that social media. Like if you look at Twitter, I think on Twitter in South Africa, I think 2 million people or something like that use Twitter in South Africa. That's like less than one. That how much is that? No, it's more than 1%. Is it 1%?
And that is not nothing.
No, it's less than 1%. But it's compared to the entire population, it's like really small compared to the entire population. So a lot of people they thought one thing was going to happen, but they got completely blindsided because they didn't realize that there's a whole world out there of people that think differently to what they do. And I think that's quite dangerous because it creates these situations where people struggle to accept what is real because they're basing their perception of what is real off of their experience online, which is an algorithm that keeps showing them the same thing, doesn't show them
Mm,
something different. And it comes back to that
yeah.
whole conversation of like being in the herd and stepping outside of the herd. Like It's the same concept, right? If you live inside the herd, your perception is going to be in alignment with what everyone else thinks. You can't progress or you can't learn new things until you step outside of that. You have to step outside of that to learn and to grow. Because if you don't, you can't perceive anything that's outside of that way of thinking. So you have to separate yourself. And when you step outside, you get broader perspective. This is also why, like, I think it's so important that everyone travels. Because in South Africa, because we have gender-based violence, we have crime, we believe that it's dangerous to walk on the streets at late at night. Whereas if you go to a foreign country where it's safe, you see that, oh no, walking on the streets at 2 a.m. in the morning as a woman is completely normal and fine. Like, when you're exposed to that reality and you can see other people living that way, it opens your mind to what is possible for us here. And then it gives you an idea of what you can strive towards and how you can get there because you stepped outside of your reality and experienced something different. And I think that's so important. That's why I don't ever regret taking Zulu. Like, taking Zulu in school changed my life, literally, because I
Wow.
was able to see a different way of thinking. I was able to experience a different culture. And the one thing that I learned from taking Zulu is the culture of being accepting, because I was different, but I was accepted. And because of that, that changed my thinking a lot. Like, it's not like when I see something different, I embrace it a lot easier compared to before then. And that's because, and it was hard. Like, yo, dude, doing Zulu, not coming from a Zulu family is hard, bruh. Like, oh my gosh. There's no one you can go to. I can't go to my mom and ask for help. Like, she's not gonna know what I'm talking about. Yes, shout out to Miss Majola. Yo, Miss Majola came
Aw,
through, dude. Yo, nah, she really
wow.
did. But yeah, no, like that changed my life. That perspective shift really changed my life. So I think it's important that we actively find ways to step away from the herd and experience something a bit different. Even though it's difficult, it's so worth it. Like, it really is.
Hmm. Wow.
What have
I'm
you
also
done
learning
that's kind of
Spanish.
like step? Sorry?
Learning Spanish.
Oh, okay. Is that something that you did that was stepping outside of the herd?
Yep. Because I was watching Telemundo. I was watching
Telemundo.
Spanish telenovelas, and there was this one song that I really, really loved. And one day I decided to look up the lyrics and did like a translation to English just to understand what it was. Because, there are those songs that you vibe to, but you don't know exactly what the person is saying because it's in another language. Um,
Yeah.
I decided that day that, you know what? I'm gonna learn Spanish. I don't want to translate to English every single time. I want to understand. What if I meet a Spanish person? Yes, English is a universal language, but it's always fun to learn other people's languages so that they don't feel the need to always speak another language. You can just say, Hola, ¿cómo estás? Yeah.
Muy bien. Muy bien.
So I think that's one of the things that I did to step out of the box or
What
out
did you
of the
learn from that?
I learned a whole lot of Spanish phrases. Yeah, a whole lot. Even
You
there was
mentioned
this
earlier with your
song.
poetry.
Oh yes, yes, poetry as well. I think
Mm.
taking that one book and looking at the figures of speech, highlighting, that helped because that made me a good rapper.
Mm. One thing, like one thing that I hear a lot about is like I grew up in the suburbs, so I've never
Yeah.
experienced this myself. But a lot of people talk about like the township and how if you think differently in the township, a lot of the time people will kind of like make fun of you or kind of view you as like someone, like I don't know how to explain that, but I've heard this. concept. I don't know if you are aware of that, if you can explain that a bit more to me.
Yeah. Like they make you feel like an outsider because you're not doing what they're doing, and they actually feel as although they make fun of you or they say something offensive, they feel intimidated because they can't do that. So now they're trying to take you from here. You're here now, but they're trying to take you back to where they are, which is what I always like to say, the bottom of the hierarchy, because they can't really think the way you're thinking. They have the same mindset. That's why most people would say when they reach a certain age where they're able to move out, they will do so without looking back. Because if you stay in a township as an adult, the township that you grew up in, you're not going to go anywhere because you surrounding yourself with people that have that type of mindset of or maybe being negative all the time, then you're also going to be part of that, even without noticing. Because they say, when you surround yourself with certain people, you end up being like them. Even with content that we consume, like they say, you are what you consume. If you see something on TV happening, then it, you know, it gets in here. For example, if
Mm,
an older person watches horror movies, maybe a horror movie about camping, and they see there's a serial killer, if you say, I'm going camping, they're going to say you're going to meet that serial killer. So
mm,
you are what you consume and you are what you surround yourself with. That's why it's important to surround yourself with positive people. If you stay in a
mm,
township you grew up in, you were born and raised, and you stay there, you're going to keep staying there. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to be able to find opportunities because you're stuck in that one space. You won't be able
mm,
to say, nah, there's actually better things out there because now you're
mm,
surrounded with these people that say, nah, there's nothing we can do. This is how it is. It's gassy life. You'll get used to that gassy life.
mm.
It
Yeah,
becomes a
no,
comfort zone now, and now you're
yeah.
afraid to step out of that comfort zone. I like talking
It's
a
that
lot.
thing of like everyone wants to feel accepted and as though they fit in,
Exactly.
which is important. Like you do need that. You do need that for sure. But it needs to be in a
Mm.
healthy way. Like who are you trying to fit in with? Like, are they
Mm.
people that want to see the best for you? Or are they people that are trying to make themselves feel better because you achieving this and that makes them feel uncomfortable? It's that thing of
Mm.
like people projecting what's inside onto others. I think a lot of that projection that you're talking about, when someone sees someone step outside of the township environment and try for something better, a lot of the time that person that sees them doing that feels like they can't do it or feels like
Mm.
they're not as good as that person is. So then they'll try to bring them down back to where they are so that they feel better about themselves. And
Mm.
that's not a reflection of the person stepping outside. It's a reflection of the person who's dragging the other person down. There's two sides of the coin. So I think for me, what really is important to me is not to make choices based off of fear, but make choices based off of hope. Because if you're
Mm.
making choices based off of fear, you're planning for the negative outcome. Whereas if you make choices based on hope, you're planning for the positive outcome. And if you're planning for the positive outcome, you're going to be more aligned to that happening. When the opportunity comes, you're going to be ready for it because you're planning for that.
Mm.
If you're planning for the negative
Exactly.
outcome, when the opportunity comes, you're going to completely miss it because you're planning for the negative, not for the positive, and you're not ready for it. So, why is this thing counting me down? Ah, my live on IG ended.
On which platform?
On Instagram.
Platform.
Apparently, there's a limit on lives now.
Oh,
That's weird.
sis.
Anyways, okay, well, we can probably wrap up here as well.
Yeah, we're being psychologists. Hmm?
Yeah, no, like it's an interesting conversation though, because there's so many
Yeah.
different levels to it. So it's like it's
Let's go.
difficult to unpack, but I think we've unpacked it,
Yeah,
and
we've unpacked a lot.
I hope we've unpacked it in a way that's relatable. Mm.
Mm,
Sorry,
yeah, it is. It was relatable
I feel like
for
I missed
me.
something.
For me, it was
That's
relatable.
good. I'm glad. So any parting thoughts?
Any parting thoughts? Be careful of what you consume, the content that
Mm.
you consume, because you are what you consume. Like I said, your brain now starts to believe things that are not really true because you see that every day. Brain is like, yes, this is actually happening. Michael Jackson is still alive. Yeah, just because you come across videos of people saying Michael Jackson is alive. I won't lie, I think he is. But anyway, you see, this is I'm I'm kidding.
Watching
I'm kidding.
conspiracy TikTok.
Exactly, exactly. But they always say a conspiracy starts with some truth. Like for that
Mm.
conspiracy to be there has to be something that happens. It
Mm.
might not be true, like maybe 100%, but there's a small chance of it being true. But not
Yeah.
always. Not always. There are certain things that when someone, well, when you come across something and they say this is what is happening, you're like, hmm, this is actually something that I was thinking about. So there's no way two people or more than two people can think of the same thing. But not to be controversial. I don't
Yeah,
want to be
that's
controversial.
next time we'll talk about Michael Jackson being alive.
I have a video evidence.
Hey, yo, I can go and create an AI video of Michael Jackson being alive.
That video was posted in 2009. It used to trend in
How?
2009. I was in grade
You saw it
4.
in 2009.
I was in grade 4. I remember
I
with my Samsung, not Samsung, Nokia Express Music. I was there.
mm,
They say Michael Jackson is still alive. Look at him coming out of the ambulance. Yeah. He's- so it's resurfacing
nah, but
again.
the Nokia Express Music, you can't see people's faces on that screen. You're
It was
basically
clear
watching
that time.
Minecraft video. Nah.
It was at that time the pixels were, ooh, everything was clear. But now, because my memory card has videos from like 2011. So when I look at the videos now,
Yo, I
and
wish I had my
back
memory cards from back then. I'd be so curious to see that stuff. Alright, Tools left the comment here. He says, parting thoughts, always seek to prove your views wrong. If you
then,
can't, you have a sound enough view until it can be proven wrong. Nice.
mm, mm, shout out.
I like
That is
that. I
powerful.
like that perspective.
Shout out tools. That's deeper than J. Cole's apology.
Hmm. Deeper than the Kendrick
let
Drake
me let
beef.
me leave the whole. Let me leave that beef because now it's going to drive me mad. I'm going to reference it every single time.
Yeah, leave the beef before it turns into chicken.
It might turn into pork. For me, it might
Chicken,
be
pork.
pork. Ish. But anyway, I see we have run over by 12 minutes, but it was worth it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the
It was
conversation.
really worth it.
As always.
As always, thank you so much to every single person that joined us tonight. It really means a lot, especially when you interact. We want to hear from you. This isn't just about me and Josh, it's about everybody who is watching right now. So, thank you so much for coming through. We'll be back next week, eh?
We shall indeed.
We're listening
Maybe even
by popular
before then.
demand. Maybe,
Maybe even
maybe
before
even
then, I
before
might
that.
hop on and make another R&B track. Who knows?
Wow. Yeah, the people need to hear that. Listen to the people.
For sure. Yeah, no,
All
we'll
right.
get there one step at a time.
Yeah, I also need to. I'm gonna do a live where I'm just writing stuff. See, this is what I keep. This is a line that I came up with, and hold my notebook and read it out loud.
Nice.
Or come with a short story
No.
right there on the spot. 10 pages.
Hey, yo, I'm down. Try it out. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I actually should do that, eh? While I'm working
Cool.
on the
But
book.
yeah, thanks to everyone who joined. Thank you for the conversation. Tool says W chat. Yeah, W in the chat. Let's go. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, like, share the content. If you want to see more of it,
Mhm.
helps us reach more people, helps us grow the channel. We just dropped a podcast last week with Talifani Banks, which is popping off. A lot of people are having a
Yeah.
watch and leaving some great feedback on there, so go check it out. And yeah, thanks for the conversation, bro.
Thank you. At least the network was not as bad.
Yeah, no, it stayed through. That's dope.
Yeah, it really came through. But
Yeah.
it's not.
And
It's
follow our
not the Wi.
socials. Follow our
Yes, and also
social.
join the WhatsApp group if you haven't joined the WhatsApp group. Just follow the link in our bios everywhere. Then you can join our WhatsApp group. We put out a whole lot of information and we did transition. So you'll see that we created a WhatsApp community and we're going to have groups there, topic based groups. So you'll get to choose which groups you want to be in if you want to get updates on the podcast or on the live or rhythm and vision, obviously. We're going to create groups for that. So you'll get to choose, but our main will be the one where we network with everybody, we get to know each other as the community, which is obviously the Creatre community. But yeah, over time we're gonna create groups where we don't want to bombard you with content in one group. So you'll get to choose which ones you want to join. So if you haven't joined, just go to our link in our bio and click join WhatsApp group.
Nice. So yeah, I think that's that. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next teasy, next Wheezy,
Cheers,
Wheezy.
bro.
Bye.